Hi guys, many people criticise Labour for being too much like the Tories, but headbangers on the right criticise the government of Rishi Sunak for being too much like the Labour Party. Someone is wrong here. So Anne Widdecombe was back on Reform UK friendly GB News to talk about her party's recent results in the two by-elections, but also what the party wants to achieve. She said here that she isn't concerned with people claiming a vote for Reform UK is a vote for a Labour government. Have a listen to this.
Well, let's talk about the party that you now support, and it's Reform UK. You spoke brilliantly at their conference a couple of weekends ago. They didn't get many votes last week, but those votes were significant, likely depriving the Tories of both of those seats in two by-elections.
Well, I mean, the fact is that in both by-elections, Reform UK got more votes than the Conservatives lost to Labour by.
Right,
you know,
exactly,
that is just a
so
fact
they had
of life.
Quite significant influential impact. Are you concerned that that could happen on a national scale? Because I know you want Reform UK to do well, but you also don't want a Labour government, so you're betwixt and between, aren't you?
Frankly, we've got a Labour government now. You know, we have two parties in this country, one's pink and the other's pale pink. There isn't actually...
Flamingo, isn't it? Rose?
There isn't actually a Conservative party in this country. And when people say to me, you'll cause the Conservatives to lose, I say, what Conservatives? I mean, this is a Conservative government. We've got record levels of taxation, record levels of crime and disorder, record levels of immigration. And this is a Conservative government, and I'm supposed to be worried about getting them out.
Okay. Oh my goodness. The idea that somebody would suggest that Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman and Robert Jenrick are basically the Labour Party is insane. Okay. But she wasn't talking about them individuals, but she was talking about three areas here. So first of all, taxation. The idea that, well, this is basically the Labour Party, the high levels of taxation. But it's not on the people who should be paying more tax. The Labour Party, we would hope, will be taxing the rich. Rishi Sunak is not taxing the rich. Why? Probably because they donate to the Conservative Party. Now, they're probably not donating to the Conservative Party. A lot of them have switched to Labour. They generally back winners. But generally, the Labour Party tax the rich and the Conservatives don't. And the Conservatives are not taxing the rich at the moment. Then she talked about crime. Well, the Labour Party are planning to hire more police officers. The Conservatives over the last 13 years have not hired enough police officers, and they have cut funding to justice and the police service. Police stations have closed over the last 13 years. That's been a Tory policy. How is that a Labour policy? So we would hope and we would imagine that the Labour Party would invest more in policing, hire more police officers, invest in more training and retainment. And then finally, immigration. This is one I don't understand either. The Labour Party are talking about doing a deal perhaps with Europe. Okay, that may increase the number of asylum seekers coming in, but it would be a returns agreement, so they should be able to return more people as well. Creating safe routes would actually stop the boats. Let's hope that the Labour Party would be more open to creating safe routes than the Conservatives would be. So none of this makes any sense.
Now, I do get a lot of emails from viewers who admire Richard Tice. They all admire you, by the way.
Well, I doubt that. Yeah.
And lots of people who are politically homeless say that I'll be voting Reform UK, and that could be quite a large constituency.
Before we get to the next part, I don't think so. Because in the by-elections, people wanted to give the government a bloody nose. People knew that, well, I can vote Reform UK and it's not really going to change the government. Rishi Sunak is still in charge. So I think a certain section of the voting public who backed Reform UK are likely to switch back to the Conservatives at the general election because they know that Reform UK will not form the next government. So it's, in a sense, it's a wasted vote. At a by-election, no, you do have more impact. It also depends on turnout. But yes, Reform UK may influence the Conservatives in some way by moving them further to the right. But actually picking up seats, it seems highly unlikely, unless something dramatic happens.
What is the long-term plan for the party? Is Reform UK seeking to replace the Conservatives as the main party of the right, or are they looking for proportional representation?
The party has a policy of proportional representation. It's no great secret that I don't share that, but I share.
You believe in strong government, don't you?
I believe in first past the post, because the litmus test of any democracy, the litmus test, can you dismiss an unsatisfactory government? Most systems of proportional representation throw up coalitions. Now, you try sacking a coalition, it just breaks up and reforms.
We also don't have a great track record with hung parliaments and coalition government, do we?
No. I mean, think of the Brexit, Conservative,
yes,
and Lib Dem coalition that Cameron was so proud of. Now, actually, I think they were right to go into coalition, because although we forget now, the country was in the most terrible state economically. I don't think the markets would have stood it if there'd been another 6 months of going nowhere and then another general election. So I think they were right to go into coalition, but they didn't do anything wonderful with it.
Okay, Anne Widdecombe doesn't make a lot of sense to me on any level. So first of all, she said that she was against PR. So the Reform UK party want PR because that would actually result in them winning seats in the House of Commons. They can't win under first past the post. It's extremely unlikely. Not impossible, but it's extremely unlikely. But it's more likely for them to win seats under proportional representation. Nigel Farage has come out in support of it, and Reform UK are in support of it. But Anne Widdecombe is against it. Like, she's against the idea of her actually getting a seat in Parliament. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And then she went on to say that, well, proportional representation isn't great because you end up with coalition governments. And that was her criticism. We don't want PR because it ends up with coalition governments that you can't sack. Okay, but Boris Johnson wasn't sackable. He resigned. He was forced out, but not by the electorate. It was within his own party. The same with Liz Truss. Liz Truss wasn't sacked by the electorate. And Rishi Sunak technically could step down at some stage before the next general election and be replaced by another Tory. And he wouldn't have been sacked by the electorate either. So I don't understand her argument that, well, PR produces bad governments that you can't sack. Yes, it can possibly create bad governments, but generally if the government doesn't function, it reforms with another coalition. And if that doesn't work, they go to elections, or they go to elections when elections are supposed to be held. But then at the very end, she says, well, we actually had a coalition government and it worked out quite well. It didn't work out great, but it was good that there was one. Once again, she doesn't make any sense. But then this is Anne Widdecombe. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.